Two people graduate from university the same year, same degree, same city. They even end up with similar jobs and nearly identical starting salaries, around $42,000 a year. Fast forward 15 years, one of them owns a home. He took 2 months off last year just because he wanted to. He does not check his bank account before booking a flight. He sleeps well. Not because anything dramatic happened to him. Not because he got lucky. Not because he inherited money. Not because he picked the perfect stock. The other person is exhausted. She works harder than almost anyone she knows. She got promoted twice. She makes more money now than she ever imagined at 22. And yet, at 37, she has almost nothing saved. She feels like she is always one bad month away from a real problem. She thinks about money constantly, and it never gets better. Same starting point, same city, same opportunities on paper, completely different lives. And the gap between them has almost nothing to do with income. This is not about budgeting. It is not about cutting coffee or tracking every purchase in a spreadsheet. What I am about to show you is something most financial advice never touches. The invisible rules that determine whether money works for you or whether you spend your entire life working for it. These are not tips. They are structural truths. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. I am going to show you the rules that separate people who eventually reach financial freedom from people who stay stuck, regardless of how much they earn. Some of these might make you uncomfortable. A few may even sound counterintuitive. But every single one changes how you see money forever. Rule number 1. Your income is not your wealth. Almost nobody tells you this when you get your first real paycheck. Earning more money does not automatically make you wealthier. It simply raises the stakes. There is something economists call lifestyle inflation. Every time your income rises, your spending quietly rises with it. You get a raise, so you move into a nicer apartment. You get promoted, so you upgrade your car. You start earning 6 figures, and suddenly your definition of normal becomes dramatically more expensive. The result? Your bank account often looks almost identical to how it looked before, just with bigger numbers moving through it. Think about someone earning $35,000 a year, saving $200 a month. Now compare that to someone earning $110,000 while saving nothing. 5 years later, who has more money? The first person, by a significant margin. But lifestyle inflation is difficult to notice while it is happening. It does not feel irresponsible. It feels like progress. The people around you upgrade their lives, and eventually those spending patterns start feeling normal to you too. This is how highly paid professionals end up financially fragile. The income was real. The wealth never materialized. Rule number 2. The first bill you pay must be to yourself. Most people earn money, spend money, and then save whatever happens to be left over. The problem is that almost nothing is ever left over. Spending expands to fill the space income creates. Financially secure people reverse the sequence. They decide in advance what percentage of income belongs to their future, and they remove it before they ever see it, before rent, before groceries, before everything else. When you save after spending, saving feels painful. When you save before spending, your lifestyle simply adapts to what remains. The adjustment happens automatically. Even 10% consistently invested from your 20s creates an outcome that looks unbelievable to someone who waited too long to begin. The math is simple. The discipline is difficult. And every year you delay this habit, the compounding clock quietly starts later in the background. Rule number 3. Consumer debt is a tax on your future income. I am not talking about every type of debt equally. A mortgage or a useful education can be different conversations. I'm talking about high-interest consumer debt, credit card balances, buy now, pay later schemes, car loans on depreciating vehicles, lifestyle debt. Here is what this debt really is. It is your future self working to pay for things your present self wanted slightly earlier. And the interest compounds. Carry $5,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest long enough, and you eventually pay more in interest than you originally borrowed. You bought the same thing twice. The hidden cost is psychological too. Debt consumes mental bandwidth. It creates low-level stress that never fully disappears. It affects sleep, risk-taking, decision-making. It traps people inside jobs they hate because they cannot afford uncertainty. Eliminating high-interest debt is one of the highest return financial moves available. A guaranteed 20% return with almost no risk. Very few investments can compete with that. Rule number 4. Your biggest expenses determine your financial future. There is a version of financial advice obsessed with tiny optimizations. Coffee, lunch, streaming subscriptions. And while none of those things are meaningless, the real financial outcomes of your life are usually determined somewhere else. Housing, transportation, lifestyle upgrades after raises. Housing is one of the most powerful financial levers in existence. Someone spending 30% of income on housing versus 50% will have a dramatically different financial future over 10 years. And most people make this decision emotionally, not strategically. Cars matter too. A car is not an asset. It begins losing value immediately. Every dollar tied up in a large car payment is a dollar not growing somewhere else. People driving reliable used cars are not always doing it because they cannot afford new ones. Many are making a conscious structural decision most people never stop to think about. And here is the uncomfortable psychological reality. Homes and cars are status signals. A large percentage of consumer spending is driven by social comparison. People buy lifestyles to avoid feeling behind, even when the people setting the standard are drowning in debt themselves. Rule number 5. Financial freedom is a number, not a feeling. Most people treat financial freedom like a vague dream, something abstract that will hopefully arrive one day. But financial freedom has a real definition. It is the point where your passive income covers your living expenses. At that moment, work becomes optional. You can still work if you want to, but you no longer need to. This number is different for everyone. If your expenses are $2,000 per month, your passive income target is $2,000 per month. If your expenses are $4,000, then your target changes, but it is calculable. And once you know your number, financial decisions become clearer. There is a common investing guideline known as the 4% rule. Very simply, many long-term investors estimate that you need roughly 25 times your annual expenses invested to sustain that lifestyle indefinitely. Most people never calculate their number, which means they spend decades working without a destination. Rule number 6. Time in the market matters more than timing the market. This mistake costs people enormous amounts of money. Many people delay investing because they are waiting for the perfect moment. After the election, after the recession, after the correction, after things calm down. But the market is always giving people reasons to wait. And waiting has a cost. Someone investing $500 per month starting at 25 may end up with over $1 million by retirement age. Someone starting 10 years later with the exact same contributions may end up with almost half as much. The difference is not effort, it is time, pure time. Compounding is extremely powerful, but it is unforgiving of delays. Investors who consistently try to time the market usually underperform people who simply invest regularly and stay patient. Rule number 7. Financial education has one of the highest returns of any investment you can make. The financial decisions you make over your lifetime are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly millions. And yet most people receive almost no real financial education. People spend years developing career skills, but very little time learning how money actually works. Compound interest, tax efficiency, investing, asset ownership, debt management. The knowledge exists. Books, courses, free resources, but many people avoid learning because money feels intimidating or uncomfortable. That discomfort becomes expensive. Financial illiteracy quietly creates decades of bad decisions. Rule number 8. An emergency fund is not optional. Without financial reserves, small emergencies become major problems. A medical bill, a car repair, unexpected rent increases. Without a buffer, people panic. They take on debt, stop investing, make rushed financial decisions. An emergency fund does something powerful. It gives you time to think, time to choose carefully, time to avoid desperation. 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash is not excessive. It is protection against panic. Rule number 9. What you own matters more than what you earn. Income is temporary. Jobs disappear. Industries change. Health changes. Economies change. Assets are different. A property generating income continues working whether you show up or not. Index funds continue compounding whether you are working or sleeping. Businesses with systems continue operating. People who eventually reach financial freedom almost always make one major shift. They stop focusing only on earning more money, and they start focusing on owning assets. This shift sounds simple, but it is extremely uncommon. Most people build financial lives entirely dependent on labor income. Remove the paycheck, and everything stops. The move toward ownership usually begins quietly, saving consistently, investing consistently, avoiding unnecessary debt, building financial literacy. But eventually, the goal becomes clear. You are building systems that will someday work for you. That is financial freedom, and it is built deliberately, not stumbled into accidentally. Now remember the two people from the beginning. Same starting point, same city, same opportunities. The difference was not intelligence, it was not luck, it was the framework. One person understood that money is a system, and that system either works for you or against you. The other person worked hard and assumed things would eventually work themselves out. They rarely do. Not without understanding the rules first. The exhausted woman from the beginning is not a failure. She is the predictable result of never being shown how the system actually works. Now you have been shown. What you do with it next is the only variable still left open.